and welcome to MotorInc First. Shumi's been out riding one of my favorite scooters, and I love scooters. And this is the TVS iQube.
Yes.
I'm not exactly sure why we're doing it now.
Okay. Two or three things.
Okay.
One, we've been wondering whether we should do older vehicles or not. So one part of this episode is to see how the experiment will work, because you're right. The iQube update was, I'm going to say 4 to 6 months ago now.
Okay.
We haven't discussed the fact that they split the range up into 3 scooters now. So there is the base model, there's the mid model and the top model. For your reference, when you see the footage, the blue colored scooter is the top ST with the 5.1 kilowatt hour battery. And the brown scooter is the absolute base model with the 2.2 kilowatt hour battery. We'll try and keep this really short because yes, it is an old update that we are talking about now.
Okay. I want to start off by asking, does it still look like what it looked like? Because in
More or
between,
less.
so it's not become a slick or a different looking scooter, and that's
No.
still that slightly blocky design.
Slightly blocky design, and that interesting, I'm calling it interesting now because I think we've gotten used to it. Initially we weren't
That
like very
LED.
convinced. Yeah, where the alien head
Yeah,
is
the
on
alien
the
head, correct.
fairing,
Yeah.
and then the front is a pretty neat looking, slightly futuristic thing, and in the back it's just like a total family scooter.
Yeah.
That odd mix is still there. I think we've gotten used to it now. What I'm not able to get used to is the slightly gimmicky stickering and decaling that TVS has done on this. So if you look at the shot carefully, you will see that the iQube logo, which says Q Park Assist or something like that on the back, it's not aligned, it's off center. It was the same on the Ronin also when it had come. And on the Ronin, we were told that's just a pre-production motorcycle, so it was off-center. But if you look at this logo, it's also TEDA and off-center. I'm not saying TVS makes poor quality products. They usually have very good quality, but they make these weird slip-ups here and there. What I was actually talking about is the iQube logo on the side is chrome. But the scooter's so subtle, why does it have to have a chrome logo?
There was one thing which completely threw me off, which is that illuminated electric on the
it makes no sense to me.
the transfer case.
Makes
right?
no
Or
sense
is
to me.
Is that just a cover?
It's just a cover
it's just the
because this is
cover
a
on
hub
the-
motor, right? It doesn't make any sense. You come to a stop, it lights up and says electric. And while it is charging, it blinks electric. And while charging, blinking and stuff, I'll talk about it in detail, but I'm not convinced that that's a good idea.
It looked so out of character for that scooter.
But I'm willing to ignore all of this because as a scooter, it just flat out works.
Yeah.
There is nobody who will not be impressed by the iQube no matter what your expectation is. And the fact that they were number 2 in the market for a long time. And just recently, Chetak has overtaken them. I'm not surprised that that is such a highly valued scooter because this iQube is just so good to ride. And I'm telling you, I'm riding the base model.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, can you just break down the variants again?
Yeah, it's easy enough. So the base model is the iQube. No suffixes, no prefixes. It comes with 2 battery pack options. The 2.2 kilowatt hour, which is what we've got, which has about, I think, a 75 kilometer range displayed. So it's a very small basic scooter.
Okay.
Above this is the 3.4 kilowatt hour battery, which also appears in the middle model, which is only one, which is the S. Remember the previous iQube that had come was the iQube S with the 3.4 kilowatt hour battery. That's the previous generation, not now. Then the same 3.4 also powers the base ST model, which is the top tier low model, and the top model is the new 5.1 kilowatt hour model, which has 150 kilometers of rated range.
So 2.2, 3.4
and 5.1.
5.1.
And they're organized into 3 status. Just to give you a sense of what the difference is, the base model has a 5-inch non-touchscreen color. The middle model has a 7-inch non-touch color screen. The top model has a 7-inch touchscreen. So
ST, irrespective of which battery pack, you get a touchscreen which is touch and color.
Correct. And if you see the TVS website, I don't think they've updated it yet, you might get confused. You will see that the middle model is marked as having a 650 watt off-board charger, whereas both the other models have 950. I was told that that's something that needs to be updated and it will be done. All the TVSs now have 950 watt chargers, which is actually amazing because if you think about it, the base model, this 2.2, it needs just over 2 hours to reach 80% from zero.
Okay, so you are riding the 2.2.
We are riding the 2.2. I wanted to ride the 2.2 because on the 3.4, impressive experience, no doubt about it. 5.1, I'm not convinced that price will make it very attractive to a whole bunch of people. We'll talk about it in more detail. But 2.2, with the 75 kilometer is just over 1,03,000 rupees or
Oh,
something
really?
like that, right? So it's sitting at, I'm going to say, 18 to 20K above a ICE scooter. And the more I ride it, I was so happy to ride it.
Uh-huh.
It's comfortable, it's fun. And at that price, if you have a short commute, I don't know why you'd spend any more money buying an iQube.
Mm-hmm.
It's convincing enough as far as I'm concerned, which is why I'm really excited about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
This sounds like that family runabout scooter, which is like that casual use for
Yeah.
running to the market and
Yeah.
back. Don't have to think too much.
Don't have to think too much. And I'm telling you this, Kartik, I was surprised. TVS has got the modes absolutely spot on. Economy doesn't feel too slow.
Mm-hmm.
It's capped at 45. So when you have traffic opening up and the road flattens out, yes, for somebody like me, it feels like, oh my God, I wish I had a little bit more available performance.
Right.
But in traffic, will you stick it in economy and say, man, I can't overtake that thing?
Yeah.
Very rare.
Right.
And when you go to performance, it does open the taps.
Mm-hmm.
Despite which the range doesn't quite fall as dramatically as you expect it to. The balance that they've figured out is really good. I'd go so far as to say that of all the TVSs I've used with riding modes, the entire range, these are the most effective riding modes.
Interesting, because I remember the older iQube and riding in eco mode with the pillion.
Yeah.
And I was just so pleasantly
Exactly.
surprised as to how usable it remained.
Exactly.
So like your typical Pune city, getting around,
No
eco
effort.
mode was totally usable.
No effort. Yeah.
Doesn't get in your way at all.
No.
So it's,
And across the three models, the performance promise is the same.
Mhm.
Okay, so you go from the bottom battery pack to the top battery pack, you're looking at first a jump of about 10 kilos to the middle model and another jump of I think 13 or 14 kilos to the top model. I'll put up the exact numbers. Despite which all three will accelerate to 40 in 4.4 seconds or something, 4.2 seconds I think.
Okay.
There is a minor difference in top speeds of the three, which is I think
That's a minor difference.
3 kmph and 4 kmph model to model. I'll again put up the numbers. But the idea is they've recalibrated each of those battery pack weight combinations so that you're roughly getting the same performance.
And the motor is the same across?
The motor is exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
No difference at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I think the motors have just been tweaked to account for the weight delta, and that's it.
Mhm.
So if they say 140 Nm peak torque, they're all 140 Nm peak torque. If they say 4.4 kilowatts, I think peak power, they're all 4.4 kilowatt peak power. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even if you buy the base like you have got,
Yeah,
just
there's no
now,
lack of performance.
it doesn't
And therefore, if you buy the 5.1, there's no increment in performance either.
feel-
So the pure delta that you're paying for mostly is range.
And how much is the difference from 75 to?
You go to 75 to nearly double.
Mhm.
At 5.1 though, it's almost a 2 lakh rupee scooter. So the Ather Apex is I think the only electric that is more expensive than the iQube ST, except for the TVS X, which is MIA.
Ah,
The TVS X is
Yeah.
2.5, right? So this is the most expensive of this whole lot of scooters.
Right.
And if you look at it from that perspective, I can't recommend the ST unless you really have a super long commute and you need all of that range on your side,
mhm.
right? I don't think the utility of the ST is that I will charge it on this Sunday and then it has so much range that I'll charge it next Sunday. I don't think it's worth the money.
Mm.
But I ride 80 kilometer commute every day because I have a job that takes me around the city the whole day. Okay, fair enough.
Mm.
Right? Just to give you the opposite of that example, my commute is 27 kilometers one way. This 2.2 is definitely too small for me. So when I ride how I normally ride, not in testing, I have to charge on both sides.
Mhm.
I don't have enough charge to get home.
Right.
And that's fine because my office allows me to charge and I have a plug point at home. But if I were buying an iQube for this, I would have to think about the 3.4.
Okay, so the sweet zone is the 3.4, the
If,
5.
yeah, but I'm still saying if you have a super short commute, if you're commuting only 8, 12, 14 kilometers a day, don't even bother with the 3.4. This 2.2 reliably gives you enough range. The predictions work, and both the ranges, you won't see drastic changes and sudden drops in the distance to empty. You'll be fine.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of the 5.1, or let's say the ST, the ST, in terms of gadgets aside from the screen, is there anything else what is the reason to step up?
So the ST created the 30-liter underseat storage.
Okay.
That has now been given to all the scooters also.
Mhm.
In there, you will find that the mobile phone charger is under the seat, the USB port, which I don't actually understand because I've owned a bunch of bikes with ports there and I've seen a bunch of scooters with ports there. I don't know of anybody who's able to successfully use it. So if their USB port has to be given, it has to be given in an accessible place, otherwise it doesn't work.
You successfully used it? Why? As in, it's just because you don't want the phone to be tossed in there.
It's there, and then you have to plug it in and close the
Okay, just that.
Yeah, it's just an inconvenient place to put it.
Correct.
Right? Iske alawa is mostly software. So TVS does their connectivity and the GPS and all of this kind of thing in two sets. One is called the basic and one is called the advanced. The advanced is a subscription. I think it costs about 1,000 rupees a year. I'll double check and put up the price. And advanced is included for 1 year. And some of those feature differences are there between the scooters, and it's kind of arcane. I'll put it up. But you think about it like geofencing is available on the S and the ST, but it is not available on the base model kind of thing. Okay, and there's some weirdness also in there. The base model trip meter, this scooter that we've got, the 2.2, how do you think you reset the trip meter on the base model iQube? And you should know why I'm asking, because there must be a trick to it.
Buried in menus? Oh, wait.
You wish.
One sec. It's not a touchscreen, but it's a...
It's not a touchscreen. Ain't got no buttons either.
Oh, because I don't...
Yeah, it doesn't have any buttons.
Through the phone app.
Yeah. So
a trip reset.
Yes. So normally when I test an electric scooter, I'm constantly using the trip meter and resetting it every single time I charge it, so that I can get a sense of where am I at with range. On this scooter, I've had screenshots after screenshots after screenshots, because the only way to reset the trip meter is to take out my phone, download TVS's app, connect it to the scooter, sign in, and then reset. So the differences between the three scooters in the software front are these kinds of differences.
Okay, the others have it on?
The others have buttons or a touchscreen. This one doesn't. Are the seats any different from each other? No.
This sounds like this one was engineered backwards.
Yeah.
The 2.2.
I'll tell you this. Having seen TVS's products over the last 3 or 4 years, I think their physical hardware engineering is very, very good. It's always been. The UI UX has not caught up. The software has not caught up to that level of maturity. So you will see product after product where you say, that's awesome. And as soon as the software and the features enter the picture, you're like, why did they do that? And in some ways, the iQube is exactly like that. So even the base model has turn-by-turn navigation.
Okay.
Right? So they have a central speedometer, it moves to one side and shows you it's clean. There is a pane on the left, which is a blue sidebar side. If you don't sync your phone, that sidebar stays empty the whole time. If you sync your phone, some of the information of your phone goes into the sidebar. So I didn't sync my phone. So there was like this 1/3 of my screen, which is just space. Okay. Right? On the previous one, I'm not sure if it happens to this one also. Every time you'd close the throttle, go into regen, the entire screen would change to regen. So you'd have like this speedometer regen, speedometer regen, speedometer regen. And if you kept doing this, it was really flashing at you, right? Yeah. Whereas on the base model, there is a circular rev counter of sorts, which fills up sort of. And when you go into regen, when you close the throttle, then it turns blue and you can see that you're in regen mode, and then it returns to whatever mode you're in, right? And again, to me, these are all minor niggles, because underneath that is a really nice scooter to ride.
Yeah. So, ride modes, like you said, basically easy to ride.
Easy to ride.
Suspension, still that plush.
Best in the market. There is nothing else like it, still. And I wouldn't say it's a great balance, but I think it's a great setup.
Slightly on the softer side too?
It's always been slightly on the softer side, remains slightly on the softer side. And the idea that most people ride their electric scooters reasonably slowly and calmly, the iQube just feels luxurious. It still does. The faster you go, the more this feeling goes away from you and it'll start bouncing around. And then I can tell you that, okay, maybe the Axis 125, if you ride faster, has a much better controlled setup, right? The Aether is uncomfortable, but always controlled, sporty and responsive. The iQube is just luxurious. So I've been riding it now for, I'm almost going to say 2 weeks now. We're planning a view story, we're planning the FAQs and stuff. I've had so much fun with this scooter, riding calmly because I have to test it, riding faster because I don't have to test today, I'm just riding the scooter. The level of comfort that the iQube offers from the beginning has been damn good. Today, I'm convinced no other scooter is offering this level of comfort right now. Everything just works. The handlebar setup, the seat is awesome, and just the suspension setup. And we've always said small suspension on scooter is difficult to set up. Okay, so the TVS says it can be done. And at this point, many people will...
While having a hub motor.
That's what I was
Why?
coming to next, exactly. And a lot of people will now bring up saying, but they use a hub motor and hub motors have negative effects on handling. Yes, but it's not that high performance and application. So technically, physics, you're right. They are putting unsprung mass in the worst possible place because it's far away from the center of gravity and beneath the springs by some distance, etc. But because this is not a high performance application, you're just riding it aram se, the hub motor allows the TVS to be absolutely silent. Like no noise. And I'm telling you this, people love ether noises, people don't love ether noises. I don't mind them at all. I've gotten used to it and I don't mind the fact that I'm aware that the motor's running. But the TVS silence is complete silence. It barely makes a noise at all. It does complicate your life and that's the con of the hub motor. If you bend a rim, you have a hub motor to deal with. If you want to change your tires, there's a hub motor to deal with. Therefore, you'll have to go to the TVS dealership every single time, right? Given the service reputation that TVS has, which I'm not going to belabor the point because I think we've said it enough. They don't have a great reputation. If you have to change your tires, for example, you're going to end up at that dealership because of the hub motor. So it is a little bit inconvenient. It also has
it has tubeless tires.
Tubeless tires. Okay. It also has known limitations. Hub motors can't be made too powerful, etc., etc. None of which affects the scooter because this is not meant to be a super powerful scooter. It just flat out works.
I mean, the instantaneous torque is enough to take care of whatever you want to do with it.
And all the other scooter basics that I want to see in the scooters, except for one, are all there. So can you lock the rear brake lever into place? Yes, you can.
Okay.
All of those things are taken care of. TVS could have integrated the key and the seat release in one shot, which they haven't done. So you on off from here and then you have to do that is 2. And 3, there are children I know who wake up faster than an iQube. I'll tell you what, I'll let the editor leave the boot up sequences of both of these. You time them and tell me how long it takes because it takes forever.
He did a demo for me and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And on the base model, the light sensor is automated. You don't have any control over day and night modes. So you will see it change brightness quite drastically here and there. And you'll see during the boot up where it boots up at full brightness. And for the first, I think 3 seconds, so it's just blank screen. As in, did it fail to boot is your first feeling. You get used to it. Then the screen boots up at full brightness. Another 3-4 seconds later is the first time it takes a light reading and then it dims it again. It's kind of disconcerting. This could be a much smoother, more cohesive experience. Again, not a deal breaker. The scooter is awesome. But can TVS refine all of these things and make this really, really great? I think they can.
Okay. Quick questions. Any other scooter that offers more range than this?
Oh yeah, plenty. So for example, Ather's minimum is a 2.9 kilowatt hour battery. So the Ather 450S, the Rizda S will both offer more range, right? The 3.4, Ather offers a 3.7 instead.
Okay.
5.1, nobody offers that large a battery pack except for the River Indy, which is heavier also. So it has to compensate by a more powerful motor and a larger battery. So to me, most people are circling the 3.5 kilowatt hour mark more or less, and they're reluctant to come very far below 3. TVS are the only ones to do it. And honestly, if you were to see on paper that this scooter has 75 kilometers of range, you're not going to be too impressed. Think about what might happen to the Activa when the same question is raised, when the prices come out and the deliveries start. Its IDC rated range is only 80. Are you going to accept it or not? Right? If you're not riding an extraordinary amount of distance every single day, this is enough. Yeah.
Okay. Boot space you said has been increased, but with the charger there, is it still, it's massive?
Yes, to give TVS credit where it's due, this is one of the smallest chargers we've seen, and for a 950 watt charger to also be compact, I am not unhappy about it. But the space is large, but it's not super deep.
Okay.
Which for the charger works quite well because it does leave some amount of space over. But if you were to start cramming stuff into it, anything that is super tall, it won't let you close the seat.
Does your RI fit?
No. RI fits only on one scooter so far.
Okay.
The River Indy, and with a little bit of fiddling under the Rizda. These are the only 2 scooters where the full-size international quality full-face helmet fits. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, all of TVS's promotional material says 2 helmets and they're all half faces.
Half faces, no. Okay.
And half faces is bad mathematics. 2 half faces still don't make 1 full face.
We just recently had an instance, one of our colleagues had an accident on a scooter and he was just being ribbed about it because he used to use a half face and he was lucky, like it's been almost a year since he upgraded to a full face. And in this instance, he was on a scooter. For whatever reasons, the front brake locked, and he did land on his face. So everybody was ribbing him, saying that if you're wearing a half face,
Yeah.
the story would have been more than just bruises on his arms.
Yeah. And I'm telling you this, if you love pulao / biryani, trying to eat it through a straw, it just doesn't have the same flavor.
Okay. Yes.
You brought that up, so I had to put that image in your head.
Yeah. Okay. So, what happens next to the iQube? Will it also get fancy like the Jupiter new one?
No, I think the iQube is in a stable place. It has been accepted as your default electric family scooter. Because if you think about where the competition is coming from, River doesn't have a distribution network, but let's consider it anyway. River scooter is super funky and super useful and super innovative in some ways, but therefore also a little bit difficult to digest. The Rizta is also super useful, blah, 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 but it's sleek looking, futuristic looking, lots of software features, and the communication is completely different. This is still, we're sitting as close to the default Jupiter as possible.
You know, the only other scooter I think about when I think about the iQube, and honestly, now I'm not so clear about which is my favorite scooter in this space. The Chetak.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it so much. I was surprised by how good it was.
It's a very good scooter.
So how would you pick between them? Is there something?
If you want comfort, you'll have to get to the iQube because the Chetak has that trailing link front which just gets in your way. But to be absolutely clear, we've not been able to test the top new Chetak, which is called the 3501 or something like that. We have not been able to test it because the test bikes haven't yet been issued by Bajaj. They were saying that post Bharat Mobility Show or whatever may be the thing when we will get to see the updated RS200 and the updated top Chetak. That point, we will have more updates. But what I really like about the Chetak is the design thought, not in terms of how it looks, but in terms of how they finish things to make sure that you get a benefit out of it. Like the brake lock on the Chetak, there's some superb details in there.
It feels premium, that scooter.
And it feels premium because it's all metal, it has a retro design and all of that. It was really slow, which this new model should fix.
Oh, that's what it's done.
It used to have relatively limited range options. Now those range options have also increased.
Okay.
And what I really love about the Chetak is you can be in economy mode and you feel like, oh, I need to overtake that thing, just open the throttle, it switches to performance, lets you overtake and go right back to sport. It is such an intuitive idea that I can't believe nobody else does it. I mean, does Bajaj have a patent on this? I don't know. Tell me if you know. Because if they have a patent, I understand why nobody else is doing it. But I think flat out, everybody should just do it.
Okay. Which reminds me, how does the regen on this work? Is it something if
No. You just close the throttle, it regenerates. That's exactly how it should be. If I have to do more work than this for regen better be giving me back 25-30% of my battery's range.
So, okay, we didn't talk about this because it just seems like, nah, there's no way that the Jupiter will have, iQube will have modes for regen or rider modes or different settings for
I love
regen or whatever.
I love it. It is the closest I have come to a regular ICE riding experience where the riding is important, the comfort is important, and not this cascade of gimmicks and drama and features and software not needed. I have not used the TVS app. Have I missed it? No.
So you have only the eco mode and the normal ride mode?
Eco and power.
Eco and power. That's it. That's sorted.
Enough.
And this also is combi brakes?
Always combi brakes.
Okay.
Yeah. And eco and power to me is enough because the modes work really well. Okay, just to give you a direct example, the Rizta's Smart Eco and Zip not as effective because Smart Eco is just way too slow. So there, I tell you have to keep going back to Zip and doing lots of work in Zip. The TVS didn't feel like that. You can stay in economy, be happy about it, it's fine.
Okay.
So have I got a memory of the iQube feeling unusually heavy? No. I have a memory of it being unusually accurate in the corner and thoroughly enjoyable in performance mode. In economy, it doesn't go. I mean, it's not supposed to. I'm at 45 before I start. But in performance mode, hey, I thoroughly loved it.
All right.
You remember how we said Access, the fun part about it is it does all the basic family things reasonably well or exceptionally well. It's when you want to have fun with it that it suddenly wakes up and says, sure, why not? And I love the fact that the iQube is still able to do that. Like the Jupiter 125 does not like it. It will. Because it's a TVS, it will corner and it will brake and it will stop, but it's not having fun. It's like, okay, fine, you want to do this, we'll do this. The Jupiter 110 wants to have fun. And the same way the iQube wants to have fun.
Listen, TVS, I know this is going to sound strange, but when I get onto the iQube, I feel like a button has been pressed which says Uncle Mode. And I love it. I
Yeah,
love that
yeah.
about it. You're just like, I want to chill. I want to do this smoothly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rush around.
No,
Yeah.
but
Not
yes.
for lack of ability.
No, and in the same breath, when you want to do Kida, it is there.
It is there,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's just got this peaceful vibe about it, which for me is the personality of the iQube.
Yeah, so when I finished testing it, I stepped right out of Uncle Mode and had fun with it.
Yeah.
And it's a good scooter
But
for it.
I want you to think about another scooter where that personality is the natural home.
Yeah.
So in terms of maybe the look and
Yeah.
what they do in terms of the design, the features that they offer,
Yeah.
the more complicated stuff, don't complicate this. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
The
yeah.
iQube should stay like this.
Yeah, in fact, it can be simplified further. There are two things that really annoyed me. One is in this generation change, I think they changed the connector for the charger.
Okay.
It's now a circular connector with a rotating lock.
Okay.
Okay. It's very difficult to click it into place because it's circular. So it looks like it's the same from every direction, but the plugs have an orientation. So anytime it was not brightly lit, I had to finally turn the thing, put on my torch, look at
So
this.
the port doesn't have any illumination there or anything like that.
No, but see, for example, the Aether's charger has a flat top and a round
Correct,
bottom.
correct. I
So
get
you
what you're
immediately align it
Yeah.
correctly. Same for the river, etc., etc. But on this charger, it's fully circular, right? So you're like, so old USB A port, upside down, right hand, upside down, right. It's a little bit frustrating. Not a deal breaker, but it's an unnecessary headache to have.
Okay.
Even if they, for example, in the most crude sense, this is what I would do if this was my scooter. I'd take nail polish and put alignment dot. So that I align the dot to dot and I know that the connector would go in and that would be the end of that, right? Second, this scooter does not show you what the state of charge is by pressing a button or anything. For example, which the Aethers do. No, forget the phone for a minute. Which the Aethers do, for example. If you press the button, the Aether screen wakes up and shows you. What the TVS does is it keeps the screen on the whole time.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay? I'll tell you what that problem is. So in my stilt parking, which is at the corner of my society, so that it's a very secluded, calm place, which means I can bring in expensive machinery and take it out without really people noticing, unless you have an iQube, where it is telling everybody that it is charging. So you plug it in, the screen wakes up. And it's at full brightness, okay? Because this is a manual.
Have people call you saying, hey, I think you've left your vehicle on?
Fortunately, no. I'm too antisocial for people to call me, but the electric sign on the swing arm is flashing.
Oh my.
The screen is at full brightness, and until it charges to full, that screen does not switch off. Once it reaches full charge, then there is some time delay, and then it switches off. And at that point, everybody in your society has had a second look at your scooter, and I don't know why this is required.
Okay.
Right? The bigger issue than this is if it creates curiosity, you should know that the charger has no lock to the scooter. The Aether's lock.
Oh,
to
the charger doesn't
scooter.
actually lock in.
It doesn't actually lock. So the rotational collar is a secure collar, but the collar itself doesn't lock with the charger. So you can rotate it anytime and unplug your scooter. So in theory, two things can happen. One, my friend who wants to play mischief on me could unplug my scooter anytime they feel like.
Right.
Two, somebody who is definitely trying to cause harm can just take the entire charger and walk away with it, because if the plug point is out in the open and the charger is also out in the open, what's securing the charger to your scooter?
Right.
On the Aether, it's because the thing locks in that you can't carry the charger away even if the plug point is exposed.
Okay.
So to me, the charging thing, relatively fast charger, yes. Compact, yes. But it never locks to the scooter, which is kind of improvement worthy. Yeah, the other interesting thing I noticed while I was looking up the documentation is this is the most interesting TVS warranty currently. It's a 3-year, 30,000 kilometer vehicle warranty.
Okay.
But if your scooter rusts, paint starts to peel off and other environmental things, then
What's it, 3-year?
30,000 kilometer warranty, which is pretty standard for electrics, except that TVS doesn't have an extension policy.
Okay.
So when you buy Pro Pack, Aether gives you 5 years of coverage. Otherwise, it's 330. Standard, no stress.
Okay.
But if you have rusting, paint peeling off and stuff, environmental things, then the warranty is only 2 years. And it says may be considered.
Okay.
Okay. Aether's warranty has SOC protection in terms of deep discharge. Obviously, this doesn't. But the overnight power draw of the scooter is remarkably low because it loses 0.5% every 24 hours.
Wow.
Which is crazy good. Yeah, which is crazy good. But it says two interesting things which I want to read back to you exactly so that I don't make a mistake, okay? I found this really funny. So these are the warranty exclusion clauses where I told you the 2-year clause, okay? Where is the battery thing? Hang on. This is part of the battery. For the battery warranty to be valid, the vehicle must be at rest for at least 3 hours in a day.
Okay.
It's a strange thing to put into a scooter warranty, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm wondering.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't understand why a clause like this would be there, because you do want the battery to be able to cool off completely and reset itself. But there is a clause here, the vehicle not being at rest for at least 3 hours in a day is a thing.
I wonder what kind of use case they thought of when they put that in.
Yeah. Then it says exposure of, I'm reading exactly now, exposure of battery to direct sunlight or radiation of heat in brackets above 25 degrees Celsius, any natural wear and tear, including without limitation aging.
I don't think you can pull that off even in Kashmir now.
I don't know what this means.
Temperatures shouldn't go above 25 degrees.
And the vehicle says 0 to 55 degrees Celsius rated. So what is this 25 degrees Celsius exactly supposed to be?
Oh God.
It's very strange.
Okay.
But here's the positive. This is the first TVS warranty that I have read which does not have a clause that says if you don't buy a new one, you don't get a warranty. So if you buy any used TVS, all of the ICEs, you immediately don't have a warranty, because the warranty document says you must buy a brand new vehicle or else no warranty. Also true for Bajaj. In the iQube's case, an exception is there, and it says no. If you have an iQube, it's within 3 years, 30,000 kilometers, etc. And these clauses, whatever, no problem.
For pillion, how much space? Is it like a spacious scooter? Is the Chetak larger?
So the other family scooters are increasingly emphasizing that they have ever larger and larger
the Rista
seats.
correct.
The Rista, the Indy, to some extent the Chetak also. I have never thought that the iQube was a cramped scooter in the first place.
Okay.
I still don't think it's a super cramped scooter. For what it's worth, the reference point for the Rista's long seat was the Jupiter 125. This is roughly that size. So I don't think, unless you're supremely corpulent or something, I don't think you're going to run out of space.
Okay, awesome.
And if you're supremely corpulent, he's already pointed out, when he was riding this scooter in Pune 2 up, it had no challenges with performance, so it's not a problem.
Anything else?
It has preload adjustment on its twin shocks. If you're that kind of heavy, please do adjust your preload. You will get a better result out of it. My thumb rule increasingly is, and this is a thumb rule, you can define it further. I think this is a 3-stage preload. If you're about 70 kilos, you should be in the middle. If you're significantly below 70, you should definitely try the lightest setting. And if you're significantly above 70 or ride 2 up a lot, you should definitely go to the stiffest preload. The scooter will feel as normal as it does when you're riding alone in those conditions. I think it's an improvement.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that aside, powerful headlight, nice brakes, very nice handling, very, very comfortable. Range just stays predictable. There are hiccups with the iQube network being a small subset of the TVS network, etc., etc. Those little complications are there.
It's a separate?
Yeah, so wherever you buy the iQube, those dealerships have the workshops that can also service and deal with the iQube. Otherwise, the other dealers can't.
They've done a phased rollout as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Super.
What a fun scooter.
Quick summary then.
Yes.
All right. Today we are talking about the TVS iQube, and the reason we are talking about it is because, well, it's one of our top recommended scooters, and we've not done a MotorInc First for it till now. And this is a good time to also talk about it because about 4-6 months ago, the iQube was updated. The interesting thing about the iQube lineup is how it's turned out. It started off as the iQube S with a 3.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, and then it was added with a lower variant, which is the regular
2.2. Yeah.
The base 2.2 kilowatt hour battery pack is only available in the base variant, whereas the 3.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, which comes in the mid spec, is also available in the base and in the top spec ST. But the ST is trump card, of course, is its 5.1 kilowatt hour battery pack, which gives you a claim range of 155 kilometers. But that also makes it pricey. But the focus of this conversation today has been the base variant of the iQube, which is the 2.1 kilowatt hour battery pack, which offers a range of about 75 kilometers. And it might seem a little too little, but as Shumi said, that in his experience, for most people who are just using it as a runabout for near their homes, going to the market, coming back, it's plenty good. It's only for somebody who's going to be traveling more on a regular basis that should be looking at the bigger battery packs. And the 5.1, as appealing as it is, it's definitely for people who need to cover, let's say, 100 kilometers a day fail-safe. And for them, that will then make sense because it is going to be a pricey option instead.
Correct.
Whereas this base variant is coming at just over a lakh of rupees, which is 15 to 20,000 rupees more than an ICE, which makes it great value.
And because it's a small battery pack and has a reasonably fast charger, if you plug it into any 5 amp socket, it actually picks up charge pretty rapidly.
It's a 5 amp?
Yeah, 5 amp. They moved from 15 amp to a 5 amp, so you can basically plug it in anywhere.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay.
Yeah, so for example, let's say that we went to do our action shots where we normally go and you run out of charge.
Yeah.
With the 2.2, I don't think of it as a crisis. Because it's got a 950 watt charger and a 2.2 kilowatt hour battery, right? I basically beg a guy into giving me a plug
You
point.
can go to any puncture wala and just...
Yeah, I sit there for half an hour, 40 minutes. I'll have 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers range to get back to work.
Awesome. Okay, that's an interesting little tidbit. Since we are on the topic of the chargers, TVS has upgraded the chargers from 650 watts to 950 watts, and that's standard across the range. What's also standard across the range is the motor, which the torque is the same, the power is the same. With all three of them, they've just been tuned slightly differently to adjust for the weights that the larger battery packs are come with. So the mid spec goes heavier by about 10 kilograms, and the top spec goes another, with the 5 kilowatt hour battery pack, goes up by another 13 kilograms. They're tweaked accordingly. But in terms of the riding experience, all three scooters will feel as good because the performance isn't going to be different. There's a slight difference in top speed, and the beauty of the iQube is just how easy it is to ride and how friendly it feels even in the eco mode, which is capped at 45 kilometers an hour, but is plenty usable for your everyday commuting. Just gets the job done. And that's with the sport. Performance ride mode. What's the top speed in that? I'm sorry.
78 or something.
70. Same as before. Okay, that's not changed. So that's so it's a really handy scooter to have, great for commuting, can move quickly, and ultra comfortable as well. That's been one of the highlights of the iQube, despite having a hub motor, which, if you remember the older scooters that came with hub motors, the cheapy variety, you would feel every bump, it would like bounce up and down, it would thud through stuff, and that's not the case with the iQube. It manages to keep things plush, manages to keep things calm, and you enjoy riding it that way as well. In terms of the equipment, the base variant, the one that Shumi's been riding, has a color screen, which is not a touch screen and doesn't get,
any buttons at all.
Correct. The controls are all largely through the phone. Even to reset the trip meter, you have to use the TVS app to reset the trip meter, which is, it clearly seems like it's been engineered backwards from the iQube S, which came out first, and that has a color touchscreen with controls.
No, the ST has the touchscreen. The S has the non-touch 7-inch screen.
Correct. Non-touch 7-inch screen, but that has the control switches over there. And so the base variant clearly is stripped down in terms of these features to make it cheaper. But the convenience is there from the mid variant onwards. And the top spec ST, of course, gets the touchscreen with touch controls as well, making it even easier. But the issue with the screen, as we've seen with the base variant especially, is that it's super slow to load up. If I remember correctly, when Shumi demoed it for me, he did a countdown, and I think we hit 17 seconds. Something like that, 14 or 17 seconds till the screen actually became operational.
Yeah, and worse, when it becomes operational, TVS, trying to protect you from yourself, won't let you see any data. It only shows you one big battery icon and the distance to empty and the instructions to arm the motor.
Correct.
Until you arm the motor, you can see nothing on the screen.
Indian parenting. Okay, and with regards to Indian parenting, the charger slot has changed now, and it basically gets a collar that allows it to be locked into the vehicle, but not really locked in the sense that it cannot be removed once you've set it to charge. It's just so that it's positively fixed to
Correct.
the vehicle. And the issue with that is it's got a circular ring, which means there's no real way of knowing how it aligns in. And that was an issue when Shumi was trying to charge. He had to invariably look for a light source to get it right. And this is a small thing that needs to be fixed, along with the fact that it should be locked to the bike once the charging starts and the owner leaves, because otherwise, as Shumi pointed out, it means anybody walking by could easily unplug the charger from your vehicle and from the wall point, because this is it's going with a regular 3-pin socket, not the heavy duty kinds, right? So that's a small issue. The screens we've spoken about, what the fiddliness over there is, the information being presented. Other than that, the boot, while it is large, it's got a lot of space. Some of it will be taken on by the charger, and to pack helmets in, the real issue is that it's not very deep. So half faces you can manage, full face helmet will be an issue. Other than that, quality wise, it's by and large good, but there are small things like misaligned stickers, and there are bits about the design.
Again, it's finish, not quality, because the quality of the scooter to me is impeccable.
Correct.
Honestly, I don't expect scooters to be any better than the iQube.
And
it's
then
the finish.
And then there are those issues in terms of aesthetic choices, like the lights. There's the light on the swing arm, which is flashing electric at you, as glows electric as you first drive off, and then flashes at you when it's charging and stuff like that.
It lights up when you stop.
Correct. I remember when you rode off that day, it was on.
So there is a cutoff to it, but its primary job is you come to a stop, I will turn myself on.
Right. And the other you said is it flashes when it's charging. So some of those things are a bit strange, but other than that, a brilliant scooter. And so you'll forget about all these things, about these small niggles, and you'll happily live with it. So that's that. Anything else that you want to add?
No, that's it. We still don't know where the TVS X is. TVS has said no comments.
Has it arrived in any of the export markets?
No.
Nothing. Okay.
It was launched in Dubai. Bookings were opened at that point of time. And since then, nothing. So roughly the same thing that has happened to the ST initially has also happened to the X again. So we came back to India, we were given the scooters for a first ride. They were slightly raw. We rode them, little bit of fun, quite expensive for what they are, etc., etc. Then zero. Then no news at all.
Okay. Anything else expected from TVS? There have been a lot of...
There was pictures of the
adventure.
ADV thing, which should happen at some point. Lots of speculation about the BMW 450 Twin, which is expected to be manufactured by TVS. But the strange amount of silence around it, I am not convinced that TVS has access to this model to build out their own or not, or they're going to just contract manufacturing. I don't know yet. I'm not very clear about it. The last time we were discussing the TVS BMW project, it didn't look like a project that was going to great places, because net sales for the entire 310s globally, including both the brands, there weren't anything to sing about, honestly. When they updated the RR 310, I said it looks like this bike is buying time for something. Then the Milan show, the 450 GS came out with the twin cylinder. It's a concept. It's not been launched yet. And everybody said, Shumi was right. This is what they were waiting for. I'm not sure. Because I haven't heard TVS say anything about them still being in the same arrangement with BMW as far as this project goes. The 450 is a new movement. What does it mean for the contractual manufacturing, for the platform sharing? We don't know.
But the Adventure has a new engine, right?
I think that is the new thing that they announced.
They showcased something
at their Motosoul event, which was a 300cc engine. It is anticipated that this engine might be powering the ADV. Again, the market's moving on to 400s. And the 400 prices start at just below 2 lakh rupees today. And they go all the way till the other end, where the top 450, 500s are sitting at about 3.2 lakh rupees. It's an enormous price band to have 400s in. What is the point of a 300cc engine today? TVS better have some very, very good ideas about why this engine is a 300. Right? If they had just said RTX 400 instead, I would have been like, yes, I understand it. When they said 300, I want to see what happens, because now I'm unsure. right? It's more than 1 lakh rupee price band. It's 1,30,000 rupee, let's call it,
Hmm.
price band, which is all 400s.
You know what, the thing you said about this family, the 310 family, having it not done well for both partners, I mean, it kind of makes sense because that segment just grew.
Yeah.
It grew out of that displacement.
Yeah.
The performance and the characteristics weren't what
No, and
people
I
were
think
expecting.
it's just a miscalculation where they thought that by the time the project gets over, 310s will be above the 250s. But by the time it actually got over, the 250s had moved on to 300s, and it happens. It's okay.
And this, I mean, the 300 choice of 300, unless, which wouldn't make sense, is that they have showcased the entry spec first and have a bigger spec, like
I hope
like
so.
the 250, like the KTM family.
No,
right?
I hope so, because see, TVS has done this before when they said we'll compete with the classic 350 with the Ronin 225.
Mhm.
But a Indian customer doesn't think of a 225 as an equivalent to a Ronin, even if all the spec numbers and performance numbers align. Right? They're like, but I have a 350, you only have a 225. There is still some value and premium associated with the displacement itself. In that scenario, what would a 300 do? Think about it like this. I'm finding it very hard to recommend the KTM 250 Duke, which is otherwise our most easy to recommend KTM, because it's 2.5 lakh rupees.
Yeah.
Which means it is halfway in price between a Pulsar 400 and a Maverick 440. It's the same price as a Harley Davidson 440. And it's 50,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees less than a 390 Duke. It makes it very hard to recommend.
Right.
Because I'm telling you to go and buy a very expensive motorcycle. Right? So where will this 300 come and sit is the question. Because at the Pulsar's price, the Pulsar 400's price, there are 250s.
That's a tough
The
one.
top 250s are sitting there.
Yeah.
The 310s from TVS BMW, the TVS 310s are more expensive.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a game. And KTM only managed to pull it off because they did that entire family of 250, 390, and of course the smaller 125. So they had massive economies.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, because TVS needs a win in the premium segment. They've tried a whole bunch of things. Their commuters are awesome, and they are doing so well numerically because their commuters are so good. To the point where I think if they were to improve their service, they'd be able to sell more. And I think there is movement in that direction, but we haven't seen any results yet. Amount of complaints we used to get, we're roughly there. But the premiums, so far, nothing has clicked. The Ronin is not singing its way to the bank. The 310s never have.
What was the name of the concept?
Which one?
The Ronin concept. I mean, before it became
Oh, the Zeppelin.
Zeppelin.
Yeah.
That had really fired up
No,
everyone's
so TVS
imagination.
concepts are all amazing. If you
Yeah.
think about the
Akula.
Creon, you think of the Kula, you think about the
Even
Zeppelin.
the Apache, what was that
Draken.
concept? Draken.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the commuters are just awesome, right? When have they made a mistake with the small bikes? Almost never. Like you take the Radeon onwards. Where is the flaw?
Yeah, scooters are brilliant
Yeah,
scooters.
Radeon, Raider, Jupiter 110, Jupiter 125, Ntorq. I
Always
think the
take-
only thing I can accuse them of is there's just too many variants in each of these things, and maybe you want to rationalize your variants down to a more reasonable number. That's it.
All right, cool. So TVS, we have some things to look forward to and see how they play out.
Yeah.
Right? Anything else to add?
No, we are waiting now for the rest of the Jingbang to show up.
Okay.
The rest of this year's launches. The biggest one that is MIA is KTM Adventure. I'm hoping that this delay is actually a good thing, because if KTM's bankruptcy issues are solved or at least resolved in one way or another, then that confidence to say great bike you should get one or terrible bike you shouldn't get one is that much stronger. But if KTM is going through this weird phase, should we recommend them? Should we not recommend them? Will they exist? Will they go completely? It's difficult to imagine that something as large as KTM will be allowed to go bankrupt by the Austrian government, given their implications on the ancillaries, components, jobs, etc.
The entire economy in that region, for sure.
Yeah. So it is hard to imagine that would be allowed to happen. But until that implication is clear, would you be confident to go out and buy a KTM? I don't know. Can I help you with that confidence? Not yet.
100%. And a similar vein, this Nissan and Honda conversation, like, which is right now a discussion to figure out how things will go, has impacted the Magnite already, which has come in fresh and is a good new product, but people are now hesitant to go with it despite. And we spoke to Nissan about this, and they said we had said $600 million coming into India And in fact, globally, they had to make an announcement saying that there are no change of plans for India. But despite that, in terms of the money coming in, the products that are planned for the market, all of that remains unchanged. They are actually hiring in India, right? But despite that, the idea that the company is in trouble is giving people
This
reason,
is because Nissan
cause for
has
pause.
not understood the Indian market at all.
Mhm.
The Indian market is full of enthusiasts. They want the Magnite VTEC.
Magnite VTech कहाँ से आया?
That's what they're waiting for.
They've
They're
got
like, they have a nice, powerful turbo that does more than you think, but they want another step up.
GTR. Always comes back to GTR.
Nissan Magnite GTR. I think it sounds good.
So yeah, I get it. I mean, it will give people some reason to wait and watch.
Yeah.
Good. Let's hope it's sorted, because that bike should be judged just on its own merits, I hope.
Yeah, and a confidence thing is a confidence thing. It's very, very hard for us to tell you that we believe things will be okay. You should get a KTM or not. I'd just rather have data first.
And it's really hard to tell at times also, right? Despite all the information and everything, if you look historically, when companies have gone out of the market, it's not like, I mean, there were signs, but you didn't know when it was going to happen. There were people who had vehicles, used them happily, got rid of them before it happened, and just happened by chance. So wait and watch and finally decide on the basis of your comfort.
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, do let us know in the comments. If you joined us in the app, thank you so much. And we'll definitely get back to you if you have any more questions. It'll be a little bit quick on the app, but we'll see you on YouTube as well.